Then Moses taught in Genesis 1, you have the Spirit of God. So you got this. You have
okay. One second. Which Jews believe that these are different essences of God? Which rabbi? Quote me one rabbi that believes that Moses believed that this one God that they believe in with us. By the way, the Jews and the Muslims, we have very, very, very similar. There's some things that they have about God slept and rested. But what I'm saying is, Christians are the only ones that's odd. So can you tell me a single rabbi that said that Moses and all the other prophets before believed in different essences of God the way you guys do?
Okay, so just a quick correction. It's not different essences, it's different persons, right? Different hypostases.
Okay, different persons.
Yeah.
What the different persons? Okay, tell me a single rabbi that believed this. Single Jewish person.
Yeah, I got you. So have you heard of Daniel Boyarin?
No.
Okay, so you got Daniel Boyarin and you got Benjamin Summer. These are Jewish scholars.
A common belief is the doctrine of the Trinity is a total Christian invention. Before the rise of Christianity, early Jews never thought of or considered the idea of a multi-personal God, and only thought of God as a unified single figure. Christians either made up the Trinity to explain how Jesus revealed himself, or they stole it from paganism. But this is simply not true, and if you study early Jewish writings, you will see that many authors wrestled with the idea of three powers in the Old Testament who all seem to be God. In the past, we looked at several of these passages and demonstrated how the Trinity doctrine was not an invention of the New Testament, but was taught overwhelmingly throughout the Old Testament as well. Many ancient Jews and Jewish scholars today have recognized this, like Jewish scholar Benjamin Summer.
This is actually an old ancient Near Eastern idea that is an old Semitic idea that is popping up again among those Jews who were the founders of Christianity. And we Jews have always tended to sort of make fun of the Trinity. Oh, how can there be three that is one? Really, they're pagans. They're not real monotheists like we Jews are or like the Muslims are. Those Christians are really pagan. But I think that what we're seeing from what I've been saying in the past couple days is that, the idea of the Trinity, that there is this one God who manifests itself in three different ways, that's actually an old ancient Near Eastern idea that can function in a polytheistic context, as it did for the Babylonians and the Canaanites, but it can also function in a monotheistic context, as it does, I think, in the J and the E texts and some of the other texts that we were looking at. In fact, to say that 3 is 1, heck, the Kabbalah is going to go further than that. They say 10 is 1, and actually when you get to Luriana Kabbalah, and there's the idea that within each of the Sefirot, each of the 10 Sefirot has 10 Sefirot within it, so that we've got 100 different Sefirot, really. We're taking this reasoning much, much farther than the Christians did. So actually, one of the more radical conclusions that I came to, much to my own surprise, when I was writing this book, and this is not at all what I had intended to do, because in various ways that we could discuss if you're interested, I'm actually rather uncomfortable with my own conclusion here, but as a scholar, I gotta call them as I see them. One of the conclusions that I came to my shock, when I finished this book, is that we Jews have no theological objection to the doctrine of the Trinity. I came to the conclusion that we Jews have no theological right to object to the Trinity. Theologically, I think that the model of the Trinity is an old, ancient Near Eastern idea that shows up in the Tanakh, and that in a different way shows up in Jewish mysticism as well.
Jewish scholars who are Jewish that believe what?
That believe that the Trinity is actually in line with Judaism. It's a Jewish belief.
One second. Let me just get this right. So one second. There are Jewish people. It's like me saying there are Muslims who believe that Trinity is in line with Islam. I'm a disbeliever.
No, that's not.
How can I be a Muslim? How can I be a Muslim and say the Trinity is in line with Islam?
Your Muslim is not your bloodline. You're a Jew by your blood.
No, 1 second. You're saying they're ethnically Jew.
Yes.
Oh, I'm talking about religiously Jew. I'm saying rabbi. I'm saying rabbi. No, I'm saying rabbi. No, they don't need to be a Christian.
They believe in Jew.
No. 1 second. I'm saying a Jew who follows Judaism and the Mosaic law, who believes that God has different persons.
Different persons, yeah. Daniel Boyarin, Benjamin Summer, Alan Segal. These are not Christians.
Okay, no, these are not Christians. Okay, what we're gonna do is this is online. I know you're recording this. I'm gonna check it, and if what you're saying, okay, no problem. I'm gonna check this information, and if what you're saying is not true, you're being intellectually dishonest because...
For example, in the Talmud, there is a passage where the author is debating with a Jewish Christian, who pointed to Exodus 24:1, where God says to Moses, "Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel." The Jewish Christian was arguing, it is odd that God said to Moses, "Come up to the Lord," instead of "come up to me," and it is likely they were different persons of one God. Now the rabbi in response could have just said that the usage is not unusual, but the rabbi instead replies that God was actually speaking of a different power in heaven, namely the Metatron, the highest of all angels, who also had the same name as God. So the early rabbis recognized the Torah taught there were different figures, all called the Lord. This correlates to what we said when we went over the Trinity in the Old Testament, that there is a divine figure who is also the Lord, known as the angel of the Lord. People often say, well, he must just be a created being because he is an angel. But remember, as we pointed out last time, the word angel in Hebrew just means messenger, not a divine figure. Human messengers were called angels in Genesis. To be an angel just meant you were a messenger. So calling this figure the angel of the Lord doesn't mean he is also one of the created angels as we know them, just a messenger from the Lord, who is also called the Lord. Jewish scholar Nahum Sarna recognizes this and says, from several texts, it is clear that the demarcation between God and his angel is often blurred. At the Exodus from Egypt, it is now God, now his angel, who goes ahead of the Israelite camp. Another interesting thing that the Jewish Targums do is distinctly say someone known as the Memra of the Lord is a distinct figure from the Lord, but who also has the same attributes as the Lord. Dr. Michael Brown says, since God was often perceived as somehow untouchable, it was necessary to provide some kind of link between the Lord and his earthly creation. One of the important links in rabbinic thought was the word, called Memra in Aramaic. We find the Memra concept hundreds of times in the Aramaic Targums. This helpful chart shows how often the early Jewish Targums would translate passages from scripture that applied to God to say it was the divine figure known as the Memra, or word of the Lord, acting as God. The Word created man, and is quite often equated with God during covenants and giving commandments. When the Old Testament says God did or said something, the early Jews translated this in Aramaic to mean it was the figure known as the Word of the Lord, who actually did and said these things.
No Jew that I've come across, they outright reject that God has persons, essence. They don't even mention his name.
Suppose it is. Can I give you a quote from Benjamin Summer?
None of this makes a difference to us in reality. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Who is this person? What's his name?
So this one is Benjamin Summer that I'm quoting. I'm talking about.
And what's his book?
Bodies of God.
Okay.
What this man is?
He's a biblical scholar, a Jew.
Yeah, he's a Jew.
Okay.
Okay. We're checking. Okay, so when you say different bodies, I just want to understand. So they say he has. Just repeat again. Is the body? One second.
So,
what you said? The spirit?
Yeah. His book is called Bodies of God, and he talks about. He goes, kind of in detail of how there, it's not foreign to Jewish belief that there is, a multiplicity within the unity of Yahweh's essence.
So he gives. He's an academic. Okay, but what I'm saying is,
He's not a rabbi, by the way.
So he gives divinity to these
One
three
second,
essence.
he's not a rabbi. He's not a rabbi.
He's a professor.
If he's a Jew, he's a
Jewish
professor. You understand?
Okay,
there are Jews professors who are atheists. It doesn't
But he's
matter.
not an atheist. He's in Judaism.
I know, but I'm saying there are Jewish rabbi who are Jewish people who are atheists. It doesn't matter. We ask you. He asked you a specific thing. Is there a Jew rabbi who said this? That's his question.
Yeah, see, I
not
think
a professor. There are Jewish professors who I know they are atheists.
The reason I asked that is because I know
the rabbis go to his seminary, guys.